Hello, Dr. Stenbeck here again, and today we're going to deal with the spiritual body. In previous shows we dealt with the mental and emotional bodies, and I particularly refer you back to the emotional class because today the various negative programmings I'll talk about that affect your spiritual balance and thereby affect your health, you can see in the emotional show how we deal with releasing the negative programming. These things are also dealt with in detail in the mental, emotional, spiritual chapters from my book, which are available to you on the website, drstenbeck.net. And I would suggest very strongly that you look at those chapters, and that will help you in terms of your spiritual body healing. So let me get on with it and go over the things that we see are important in applied kinesiology, which is the use of muscle testing to access the truth of what's going on in your healing from your brain. So here we go. Now these are the factors I'm going to touch upon. Your higher power or God relationship, life lessons and how they affect you, the acquiring of faith and self-faith in a higher power, and the blocks that prevent you accessing it, your chakra or your aura balance, the nature of the spiritual body itself, removing negative spiritual programming that interfere with your spiritual balance and your God relationship, and the all-important topic of attachments. Higher power relationships, your God relationship. We apparently have this inborn. But negative programming in childhood, lack of parental support, these type of things cause us to not look for God as we're growing up. We're blessed if we have parents who do support us finding who God is to us and how to relate to Him. So this is the basic aspect. And when I was in practice, I would have the patient say, God. And if they stayed strong, it means at least they have the basics in place where they have a belief in God and they're moving forwards with it. Then I'd have them say higher power integrity. And a lot of people would go weak because they're not doing anything about it. And then we'd identify, well, what do they need to be doing? I mean, is it prayer? Is it meditation? Is it going to church? What is it? And then once that is strong, I've had people say higher power oneness integrity. And then higher power becomes me integrity. And these are the higher aspects of your spiritual balance where you feel the presence of God in you through prayer and or meditation. So this is the ultimate goal. And when you're at that point, you have a very strong spiritual balance, which then facilitates greater healing in your body. Particularly when we do not have any relationship with God, and you say God and you go weak, that's when you have negative programming from childhood. And one has to identify what age that occurred so that you can do a written release on it and move back into starting to have a belief in God. Now the second aspect is around life lessons. When things are going wrong in your life, you need to step back and say, what is the lesson in this for me? Why is this happening to me? And once you find out what it is, then you can do written releases on it, a la the emotional chapter in my book, and start coming into integrity in learning the life lessons that you have. Now most of us don't have a clue what they are, so you have to do some searching inside your mind for what it can be. If you're constantly having accidents, for example, injuring yourself, or car accidents or something, there's likely to be some type of negative emotion that precursors and allows you to go into these accidents. So one needs to find out what it is so that you can release it and move on with your life. Now, around having faith and self-faith in God. Many of us, through our childhood programming, have blocked having faith in God or faith in anything, even in some people. And one needs to look at the traumas of your life, and particularly in childhood, to determine where you might have lost faith, perhaps in a parent, perhaps in God, perhaps in people. We all have some of these things, and they need to be identified and released so that you can return to having faith and self-faith, and thereby have a stronger God relationship. Now, all of this that I'm talking about are in the chapter in the book on the website, so please go and read that in more depth, and it'll give you more help. I know all these things I'm saying are probably evoking in your mind something like, well, that's all very nice, but what do I do about it, and how do I find out about it? Now, when I was in practice, I would ask the body what's going on. That's what applied kinesiology does. Now I do it by online consultation, and I've gotten pretty good at intuitively knowing what's going on with you. So the next thing we need to address is the removal of negative spiritual programming. Now look at these various statements here. My higher power does not exist. Or, even if my higher power does exist, it would never recognize or help me. Look at all of these statements and see if you think you own any of them. If you do, you need to do a release on them and replace them with the opposite positive programming. My higher power loves me conditionally. Even if my higher power loves me unconditionally, it would not help me. These plus-minus statements are very important, and many of us have one or more of these statements from negative programming in childhood around God, church, or religion. And if you have such negative programming and you know it, then it does have a component of interfering with your health. And that's the reason that in holistic healing, spiritual is just as important as dealing with nutrition and the mental body and the emotional body. And the next thing I need to show you is about attachments. Now, attachments are emotional issues that interfere with your God relationship and with your health. So you have to ask yourself, what are my worldly attachments? Because we put them ahead of God, and then we're in trouble. And so you need to identify what it is in your life that you do put ahead of God, and release such attachments by doing a written release from the spiritual chapter in my book. So detaching from being attached to something in your life means that you abandon any belief that your conscious mind or your ego is in command of your life. It's a matter of surrendering your life to God, your higher self, the universe, whatever you want to call it. So look at this in my book on the free chapters, and there's also a template on how to do a release on whatever attachments you feel you have in your life. Now, in the first show we talked about the nutritional priority system, and sitting on top is the spiritual body. And you'll notice the first line is something I haven't talked about today: your vulnerability to negativity, to negative people, to their negative energies. And this is a very important topic which interferes with your energy field and your aura. It can actually break the aura and cause most of your muscles to go weak and for you to feel weak every day. And it's so important. There's a separate show coming up on this, and I call it Defense Against Negativity and Negative Energies, and perhaps it could be the most important show in this whole series. So I've just listed there some of the things that we need to do to access our spiritual balance, such as prayer, meditation, visualization of spiritual figures, sometimes spiritual affirmations, the use of different spiritual therapies, crystal therapy, music, color therapy, sound, Shin, Reiki, this type of thing, all massage your spiritual body. And that's why it's such an important subject. Well, there you have it. A very important subject today. And be sure to look at the website, go to the free chapters from my book there on the spiritual body, and you'll get more data on how to help yourself. If you have no interest in your spiritual body, then holistic healing is really not much help for you. You should stay with the medical model, because the spiritual aspect is a vital aspect of holistic healing of any kind. So there we are, and I know it's a little airy-fairy, this show today, but I can't say go and take this herb or that herb or release anger and rage from your liver and everything will be better. It's work you have to do. So I'm happy to point you in the right direction. Okay, until next time, it's Dr. Stenbeck saying bye-bye for now.